Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Now we have something that's always important. I was just telling somebody that Joe KARP has been with us, working with us, Boomer Times. At the time, I think we were called Senior Life, the longest of any advertiser we've ever had. He's such a dear friend. We have used his services. My friends have used his services. He's just a great man. And Joe KARP has not aged 1 year since I knew him. Have you, Joe?
No, I've aged more than 1 year, unfortunately, but I'm still feeling terrific, good, and I've surrounded myself with younger lawyers who do a lot of the work and see a lot of the clients, and they do the bulk of it, and I'm now the mentor.
Oh, the mentor, huh?
That I'm the mentor or the maitre d', depending upon how you look at it, because when I started this firm, the whole plan was to not just build a business or a practice for myself. It was to build a relationship with families and clients so that we would be there when they needed us. So we have gone through, I just saw a client Thursday. He's 95, and I was, Adele Harris, who's been with me 14 or 15 years, called me and said, I want you to meet this gentleman. And I won't use his name. It's Dr. So-and-so. And she said, he said, do you remember me? I said, and this is a true story. His mother's name was Bertha, but went by Bertie. And there were 5 kids, and he and his brother George were in the meeting with Bertie. Bertie was 95. He is now 95, by the way. And I said, I remember the meeting after your mother had decided what she wanted to do. I let you and your brother come in, and she told you what she was doing, and you two started bickering. And I said, I looked up, and Bertie looked at me. She was 95 years old. One kid was 70, and the other one was like 68. We call them kids. And said to me, do you believe this crap is still going on and I'm 95? I can't believe it. And I regaled him in the story. And his children were in the room, and they just cracked up because they know his relationship with George. They remembered Grandma Bertie, and they were just shocked. So I built this with a plan to be there generationally. So we've structured the firm so that we're not just the one-man show, and we've created an entire history. It's not who's going to take over my practice. It's who's going to assist the clients of the KARP law firm down the road, and we build a whole history. And my son Jonathan is in the firm now. He's finishing up his 3rd year already. So, and he worked there before he went to law school. So we set it up so that we could be there generationally, because it's important, and developing those ongoing relationships, just as the wonderful relationship with the former Senior Life, now Boomer Times, has been. I mean, we're with you over 20 years now.
Yes, you are. How did you know that you were going to have sons who wanted to be lawyers?
I didn't. I thought I had sons who were capable of being lawyers, but I knew that I could build a practice that would be inviting for somebody to stay on. Adele is neither my son nor a man, and she's with me 15 years. And so we've built it to last, so that and there was an understanding that I'm setting this up so there'll be a continuity for the clients. And, you know, as people look at me now, there was a time when I was afraid they thought I was too young, and now they say, well, what if something happens to you? And I say, something will happen to me. That's why you're here, because something will happen to you as well. And that's why, by the way, this leads into a separate issue. That's why I'm working on this whole transition. I love what I do, and I love seeing clients, and I love that. But the transition is you don't know when something is going to happen. So and that something, of course, is not always death. That something could be a car crash, a stroke, any number of things that would automatically just slow you down and make your inability to do your things. And so I practice what I preach. So I've turned over the reins of running much of the business to Adela and John, and I have the other lawyers coming to me for some guidance and direction, etc. And they are doing, and I get to oversee, but they're all in the works, so that if I were hit by a car yesterday and put into a hospital for 10 weeks, the ball would not be dropped. Our clients would still be represented. We are good at taking good notes. You can read about who I met or who anybody in my firm met with since we've been in practice to hear what we did. Well, not only what we did, but why we did it. This is so-and-so, married. His daughter-in-law is terrific. His son is really problematic and is not focused. Or the son is terrific and the daughter-in-law is only is cold and nasty to the mother. And we just have that stuff. So we know who we're doing it. I mean, because we remember the people. It's all about people. Estate planning is about people. Everybody who's listening right now, their issues in regard to what should happen when I die has to do with how will the people best be served? How will I make sure that the ones I love are protected? I had clients in on Wednesday, had not seen them in 3 years. He had, by the way, a miraculous event. She saw he was having a stroke. This is in Delray. Immediately called up 911, got him to the hospital in Delray, and within an hour from the time it occurred, they did the surgery and started to remove and did remove a blood clot that would have really hit him bad in the brain and absolutely saved his quality of life, if not his life. So anyway, that happened, and then they came in because that was sort of a wake-up call that maybe we should relook at our estate plan.
Oh, I'm sure that's true.
Oh yeah. That's the wake-up call. Is everything in order? And as it turns out, their bachelor son is now living with a woman who's 30 years his junior, and just has a brand new baby that is less than a year old, who's the light of their life. Their stable son just went through a horrendous divorce, and now what they're going to do, before everything was 50-50 to everybody. Their stable son was in a perfect marriage, life was good, he's going to get half the money, the bachelor son is going to get half the money, and now they said, you talked about a special trust. And I said, you mean the Heritage Trust? They said, yeah. They said, we think we need it. Now, the Heritage Trust becomes a beneficiary when somebody dies. And now they realize, although they never anticipated it, the way that works is because they want to protect the bloodline, right? You always want to protect the bloodline. So before they thought, well, if their married son got the money, he would leave it to his wife and she would always take care of his kids. They're kids.
Right.
Now they're afraid, well, maybe he'll remarry and he'll leave it to the new wife and the grandchildren will get nothing. And maybe he won't do a prenuptial agreement, right? Because a lot of men are gun shy of that. So then she'd be entitled to money, etc. So we're going to do a heritage trust that says, I'm leaving this money to my son to be in charge of for him and his kids. He can use it for himself solely, but he can use it for his kids as well. And when he dies, it passes to his kids. and his kids will be the beneficiaries. That takes care of the son who just got divorced. So if he remarries and doesn't do a prenup, the other one, now they're afraid, they don't want it to leave it to the trophy girlfriend they're doing. He gets his shares for him and his kids. When he dies, his brother will be in charge, if not his brother's kids, because they're older, and it's for him and his kids, and then his kid. It's not going to go to the girlfriend. He can leave his money to his girlfriend, but they want to take care of their family. So it's an ongoing thing. And I knew the family history. I mean, we keep it down. I remembered it, but if I wasn't there, Adele would have known the family history. And now my dictation says why we did this. So when they die, if the sons come in and they're in charge of the estate, we keep the daughters-in-law or the girlfriend out, and we explain why they did it. And they explain the circumstances. And the kids say, oh, I got it. You know, my parents never stopped parenting me.
So I want to stop you here.
Relationship business.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say something about all this. If you go to, and I'm just going to say this, a typical trust attorney or an attorney who deals in wills and trusts, a lot of them, they don't know about this. They don't get involved in it. You're just a number, and I know this is true. It happened in my family before, of course, I met Joe, but where they just have everything on computer. And what you're hearing from someone now, Joe KARP, is he gets very involved in your family. So he asks the right questions. He doesn't tell you what to do, but he puts it in front of you and he says, what if, what if, what if? And I think that's what sets you apart, Joe, from a lot of other lawyers.
I think that sets my whole firm apart. And when somebody says to me, well, I didn't think why are you asking me this stuff?
Right.
I said, because if you go to the dermatologist because you've got a pimple on your arm, he's got to examine your body. If you go to the internist with a complaint about your knee, they're going to do blood work. They're going to want to know who they are treating. We are treating you and your family. We are not just there to fill out forms. We are there as counselors. Our business cards don't say attorneys at law. It says counselors at law. We're there to give counsel. Families have difficulty. What's going on? What are you trying to protect? I know you want to avoid probate, but there's other things. There's how do they get along? And you got to do it. I mean, somebody will come in and say, my daughter's a divorce school teacher, and she's raising one kid, and her husband's a deadbeat, and my son's a plastic surgeon. He's doing great. I think I'm going to leave her 2/3 and him 1/3. And the estate is a comfortable estate. I'll just make it a modest estate. It's $150,000. I'll say, you're going to leave your daughter $100,000 and your son $50,000 instead of $75,000 apiece. Yes. Do they get along? Terrifically. Do you think your son will mind? No, I don't think he'd mind. Do you think his wife would mind? All of a sudden, the eyes open up. Yeah, she'll mind. She likes every penny she can get. I'll say, if your daughter went broke tomorrow, would your son help her out? Absolutely. Would his wife object? No, because it would be the right thing, and she's not a bad person. Would your wife object? Do you think his wife would object if after you died, your daughter got $50,000 more than your son, whereas she would have only gotten the same amount, which would have been a $25,000, and she didn't say, can I give you this money back? Do you think she might say, well, your sister never tried to even up when Mom died? Do you think she might say, why are you helping her? She got extra money from your mother, and she didn't even acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. And I say, you're right. It's not worth the risk. So we evaluate things and do things. And for people who want to hear more, and this is a thank you, Richard, who's listening in on this, we do public seminars to talk about what we do, how to do your estate planning, how to avoid going broke in a nursing home, what benefits are available, and we'll be doing them at the end of this month. Do you have the schedule, or do you want me to give it, Anita?
I think you should give it. I mean, I have it, but why don't you do it? I know you love it, so I do have it.
Okay.
But
we do something called a senior survival workshop because it covers more than just death planning. It covers life planning, how not to go broke in a nursing home, what you can legally do, what you can't, and in fact, we can, if we touch upon it, we'll even touch upon my column for the month of February. On Tuesday, February 26th, we will be doing this workshop in Boynton Beach at the Boynton Beach Courtyard Gardens, Courtyard Inn, the Marriott Courtyard, and it's on Congress Avenue between Boynton Beach Boulevard and Gateway. We start at 1:30. We usually run a little late. Bring a sweater because it always runs a little cold. But we will explain stuff. And for people who attend our workshops, if we believe we can help you, you will be offered a free consultation. If you don't want to, by the way, if you don't want to come and you want a free consultation, that free consultation will cost you $400 or $500, depending on who you want to see. So it ain't free if you're not coming through the workshop, because you can get so much information there that you come in as an educated consumer. So that's Tuesday, February 26th in Boynton Beach, 1:30 to 4. Wednesday, February 27th at the Port St. Lucie Holiday Inn. That's on US 1 in Port St. Lucie, and we're doing that on Wednesday the 27th, same hours, same air conditioning issues. And then on Thursday, February 28th at the Marriott Hotel in Palm Beach Gardens, that's right off PGA Boulevard and RCA Boulevard, again, 1:30 to 4. We give you a whole bunch of information. We try to make it comfortable and light. We're not trying to be heavy, throwing numbers around. And again, you'll be offered an opportunity for a free consultation. If we think you can help, we can help you. And for those of you who are listening, say, maybe I'll go in March. We don't even have March down yet as a date. So we never committed to doing it the next month. That's number one. And number two, all of a sudden you come in March and we tell you we're booked for the beginning of for appointments, because if it's going to be March, it'll be the end if we're doing it at the end of February. And all of a sudden you're coming in for an appointment in the middle of April, and you say, I'm leaving May 1st. We say, we can't help you. We can't get it done fast enough. We're not a cookie cutter that just prints out forms and fills in the blanks. So if you're serious about taking care of your affairs, having them reviewed, seeing whether your trust is appropriate, seeing if your documents do what they're supposed to do, seeing if you understand them yourself, come in February so that you can address it before you go back, Mr. or Mrs. Snowbird. Of course, you have to be a Floridian for us to help you.
Oh, wait, that's interesting. Oh, you have to be, in other words, you have to have residence
here. I'm not going to practice law in another state. I'm licensed in New York, but I don't actively practice in New York, so I'm not going to do your estate plan if you're from Pennsylvania. I don't stay on top of that law. I'm not licensed to practice law in that state, so I practice law in Florida.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point.
I can't, and that's why I say, depending if I can help you.
Yeah.
There are other people who we determine when we see what they're coming in for or think they're coming in for that we can't help. But for the most part, we believe when you're a Floridian and you're coming in for traditional estate issues, I want to know if my will and my power of attorney are good. What did they say? I did a trust 5 years ago with another lawyer. I never heard from him again. Is this trust still good? Have the tax laws altered the trust? Is this trust do anything about Medicaid or not? So those are questions people want answered.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. And, it's something, though, to have you, because you do keep on top of everything. And the one thing we don't talk enough about is you are board certified. Now, when we first started working together, was there such a designation, or did that happen years ago?
No. That started when we first started. Board certification did not exist. That started June 1, 1998, and I was in the inaugural group of board certified elder law attorneys. And although the other lawyers in my office are not certified, we work as a team. There's not a case that I don't get involved in, even just peripherally. We review it, and we share ideas, information, and thoughts.
So the certification, though, gave you extra information?
Excuse me?
The certification gave you extra power, more than just typical, right?
Well, my certification merely meant that the Florida Bar recognizes my expertise. But if years ago my kids had minor surgery, and the doctor who did it was hernias. The doctor who did that surgery, every doctor in town, every pediatrician in town, sent all little kids to this guy. Because all he did was kids' hernias. He never got certified in it because he just did it all the time, and every doctor recommended him. But for the most part, how do people know where to go? Well, you go to a place based upon their reputation, the firm and the team that's there, and will they be there when you need it? So the certification just said, hey, this is not just somebody who just does this stuff. This is somebody who bothered to get the credentials to say that the bar thinks they know what they're doing. You wouldn't get your heart bypass surgery by a doctor who says, oh, I've done one or two of those. You want to go to a cardiac surgery specialist who does all of them, right? You want the doctor who's in the OR for 2 or 3 of those a day. You don't want somebody who just, I did one of those. So
well, Joe, I think
do them together.
Right. Let me do this, though. I don't really give your phone number out, and I should do that. We always have your commercial on, but let me do that. So you've heard really from Joe KARP himself. You've heard, I think, why he is so extraordinary and why I think so much of him and my friends and my family and anybody who's ever gone to him. They never leave him. So let me tell you what his phone number is. It's really important to make this phone call. If you want extra information, if you want to get on their website, I'll give you that in a minute. The toll-free number from anywhere is 800-893-9911. Again, 800-893-9911. That's their phone number. And if you have a specific question, call that number. But you could find a lot on his website. I'll tell you that right now. If you go there, you will see, as he said, you'll see when the seminars are. You'll see a lot of things. And it's KARPlaw.com, KARPLAW.com. So he works very hard at that. You still have your blog, don't you?
Oh, sure. We have a blog. The firm has a blog. I don't do as much of it as other people now. I'm letting them start to do some of the stuff that I used to do. And by the way, for your listeners, we have 3 offices. We have an office in Palm Beach Gardens, an office in Boynton Beach, and an office in St. Lucie. So that's why we do those workshops in those jurisdictions. Because sometimes you'll see somebody who does Palm Beach Gardens and Boynton Beach, and you say, where's your office? Oh, well, I'm in West Palm Beach or I'm in Boca. Well, I go where my clients are. I don't yell surprise. I know I'm here, but now you're going to have to schlep over. So we stay with our client area. People say to me, they'll call up and say, do you have an office in Broward? And I'll say no. And they'll say, what? And I'll get calls, are you going to do a seminar in Broward? And I'll say no, because I don't expect people from Broward, even though we think we're worth going to, are going to come to Boynton Beach, which is the closest office. So we don't pick locations. In fact, I noticed somebody is doing seminars in the same locations I'm doing them now, and where I've been doing them for 20 years, that doesn't even have offices in those locations. It's Joe KARP's been successful. The KARP law firm's been successful. These places must be good. So we tell people, come to the workshops. Again, we're going to be in Boynton Beach on February 26th. That's a Tuesday. February 27th in Port St. Lucie, and February 28th in Palm Beach Gardens. You don't need reservations, but we do start on time. I usually run over because I have so much to tell people.
Right. The seminars are very lively. I have to tell you this, that Joe doesn't go with a script. He just, and one person can ask a question and that no one has ever heard before, and it goes on. And he's very, it's not your typical seminar. I just want to tell you that. I've been to seminars, but Joe KARP says so many things that you have never heard before. It's really worth your doing it just to go to meet him also. He's very charismatic, and he's do you do this alone now, or do you bring your staff with you?
I bring
forget.
Somebody with me some of the time. We're going to start having other people doing the seminars in the office. John and Adele may start doing them. The trouble with it is I really have fun doing it. It's like doing to me,
right.
Because I can make light of heavy things. To me, it's sort of like doing 2.5 hours of stand-up on what.
I was just going to say that.
Ending up dying or ending up in a nursing
home.
Right,
stand-up comedy, Joe KARP.
So I enjoy doing them, but they do it, and again, for transitional purposes, it's important that they start doing them because I don't plan on retiring, but I have to plan on all of the inevitables, and that's my advice to the people who are listening. When should I do it? Before it hits the fan.
Right. That's it.
Crisis planning is not a good way to do it. You take your car into the shop every so often to get it checked out. It's not fun to say, well, I haven't had the brakes checked in 5 years. I discovered they didn't work when I rear-ended the car in front of me because they didn't grab. No, you take care of business.
Well, Joe,
get them checked.
Okay, and we have to take care of business too, and our time is up, and it always goes so fast when you're on the show, and I love when you're here. Thank you so much for being with us and all the information.
You, well, and to my nephew David, thanks for listening. Okay.
And don't forget, there is a great article coming up in the next issue. Don't confuse federal tax law with Florida Medicaid law, right?
Right, and I'll be on the air, I think, 2 weeks from today, so we can discuss that.
Thank you, Joe.
Terrific. Be well. Bye.
Right. Thank you. Bye.